first candidate up we have from Jeju Island chapter, Jamie Carson. Jamie, would you like to do a really brief intro on yourself before we start in with the questions?
Sure. I've been teaching English for about 10, 11 years. I've been in Korea for 9. I've been a KOTESOL member for the last 7 years, and we was on the startup team for the Jeju chapter, and I'm currently running for first vice president.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And just to give you an idea of how this is going to work, I've got a list of questions that Jeff sent out to all the candidates before. So we're going to be drawing from that list, as well as we're also going to be, yes, thank you, Jeff, for making a note of that. We're also going to be drawing from any questions that are posted to the live stream chat area, and Jeff's checking up on that periodically. And if any of the other candidates have questions, feel free to, in the live stream chat, add a question or two for Jamie. Does that sound good, Jamie?
Sure. We were sent a bunch of questions.
Hypothetically. Well, we're drawing, it's just a, Jeff, you send off a large list of questions, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was Doug who actually came up with a list of possible questions.
Doug sent off a large list of potential questions. They're all pretty straightforward. So we were just going to draw from that list.
All right.
So I guess if you're ready, I'll get started on asking a few questions.
Sure.
All right, awesome. So starting off, very, very simple and straight to the point. Why are you standing for your election, and what are your aims if you get elected?
Well, a couple of simple reasons. First, I come from a small chapter, and I've seen some of the needs that that chapters have when it comes to communicating with National Council, getting assistance from National Council, and getting speakers to come here, and having a successful chapter is really difficult sometimes. And I'd really like to see KOTESOL National really more invested in the chapter level. One of the I just lost my train of thought. But I really would like to see KOTESOL move forward and really start working more with other organizations to help improve the chapter attendance and membership and the quality of workshops that we can offer.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you have, I'm just curious, as far as along those lines, what organizations would you imagine them partnering with, and what kind of concrete steps do you think KOTESOL should take in 2012 to really move towards better chapter support? Are we talking more financial support as well? Or is it more such as, for example, KTT, where they do outreach events?
Both, actually. One of the things I'd really like to see is there's a number of English teaching organizations around Korea that that KOTESOL really should be communicating with, partnering with, maybe co-sponsoring things with, that would improve our relationships with the professional community that is already here of Korean teachers. I'd like to see kind of some alliances made between us and those organizations. Also,
excellent.
It wouldn't be just, like things like KOSETA or or CASA, like the different organizations there. But also, financial wouldn't, the chapters could use a little bit more financial assistance, in my opinion. The KTT program is something I'm really, really committed to if I win this election, trying to improve. Getting more speakers involved, getting more presentations to be available, allowing chapters to have more finances for KTT speakers, but really more of good presentations, things that people can take away from. And I'd like to start working with each chapter and kind of draw from their pool of members and who does presentations for your chapter, would they be interested in being on the KTT list, and just really trying to expand that program.
I wonder if I can chime in. I was watching your YouTube video and reading your statement, Jamie, and a couple things caught my attention. One, you mentioned that you thought it was important to include some kind of volunteer outreach. And I don't know if you were thinking more local level or national level. Can you tell us, have you done any of that in Jeju, and how and why would you do it in position as first vice president?
Okay, well, in Jeju, we do have a lot of volunteering that we do around. We also have set up, the foreigners here set up a charitable foundation where we have sporting events to raise money for different people. We originally was started for the family of a foreigner who died. His children were under the age of 3. So once we raised the foundation raised enough money to pay for their college education, we started looking out into the community to find people to support. Now that's just us locally. That's just that's what we've done here. But we do have different groups that join in for orphanages and the Migrant Workers Center and different areas that we could help by providing free English education. One of the things, it's not tied to KOTESOL here, it's just something that the foreign community itself has done. We're a small community, it's easy to do that. What I would like to see with KOTESOL National is maybe setting up or communicating with Hope and how we could possibly partner with them, give them a table at our conference so they could get the word out to teachers on how they can effectively be involved in volunteering around Korea, possibly having their literature at our meetings, so that even if they don't come to the international conference, on the local level, if you're new to Korea and you want to do some volunteer work, to have the materials there that would help each teacher find a place where they can fit in the volunteer community.
Sounds like a great plan. If Jeff, do you have another question to follow up on that, or else I've got one?
You go.
Oh, okay. So kind of drawing these strands together, there's been a lot of talk about improving the number of Koreans that we have involved within KOTESOL as an organization. How do you see, for example, both these volunteer programs, as well as your desire to have more chapter support, being able to reach this goal of having more Koreans be actively involved within KOTESOL? Because I can see some overlap there.
Well, I think that when you get involved with the volunteer work and you're out in the community, there are all other Korean teachers that are involved too. It's something that's on the heart of a lot of Korean teachers, where they know that they have students that just can't afford to go to the Hagwons and get the extra schooling. I think it would be something that would be an interest to them. It would be a draw for them to be involved in the organization, to see that we are interested in the Korean community. We're not just here to make some money and go. I think also with partnering with the other organizations, it gives the chance to, if we do co-sponsor events and things like that, it gives a legitimacy to us, I think, a way that Korea's professional English teachers can look at KOTESOL and say, okay, wow, they really are a dedicated professional development association, and they are interested in working and improving the English language education in Korea.
Okay, that sounds excellent. That sounds very much like a positive step that we could take. One question that's come in from the live stream, you're talking about another way to improve the local chapter ability would be the disbursement of further funds to the chapters to help them with some of these volunteer efforts that we want to roll out. Could you talk just very briefly about how you think we should streamline the chapter funding process?
That should probably go through a grant. There should be money in the budget set aside for chapters to do outreach programs and maybe if they're doing a volunteer outreach, being able to apply to the National Council for extra money. That way it's not just, hey, let's hand out some money. We don't want to do that, of course, and just waste it. But if a chapter was interested in doing an outreach, if they were interested in getting some funding, simply just having their chapter president apply for the grant and letting the National Council approve it, and then disseminating the money down from there, and possibly even having other people or other chapters involved as well, partnering up and saying, hey, that's a great idea, this is what this chapter's doing, they presented it at the National Council, anybody interested in joining them, can we help them out even more?
Okay.
I did have one more question about something you mentioned on the YouTube video. You were saying that you thought it was really a priority that the journal be accredited. Why hasn't it been accredited so far? What are the challenges, and how would you overcome them?
It is my understanding in the past that the journal was it stopped being published. In order to maintain accreditation, you need to publish a certain number of times a year. It's my understanding that this year, I think Dr. Lee took that over this year and has gotten the published out. If you remember, you should have gotten the journals in the mail. Um, then I think we have to have so many per year published, and then we can reapply for the accreditation. And so it's a bit a matter of catching up, getting out the required number of issues a month. We have, from what I understand from Maria, the former publication chair, that we have a lot of articles. It's not a lack of materials to publish. It just, for some reason, fell by the wayside. And I think that right now what we're doing, what we have been doing for the last 2 years is really trying to get all those articles uh, organized, printed, and published into a journal. I think in the next year we will be able to apply for accreditation, but again, that's only from what I've heard from other people. But I do believe that the journal and having it published is it's so important. It's one of those things that give you legitimacy. To have a peer edited and peer reviewed journal is, I think, a mark of a true professional organization in TASOL.
Excellent. Jeff, how much time do we have left? I know we started a few minutes late. Just want to check in with
I'd say let's take about 3 or 4 more minutes.
3 or 4 more minutes? Okay, excellent. So beyond the journal itself, what do you see as being some of the key problems that KOTESOL has to overcome in the next, say, 2 to 3 years? Because again, vice president, while it doesn't necessarily ascend to the presidency, tends to indicate a longer desire to be within the volunteer ranks of KOTESOL. Hopefully, we'd like to keep you around. What do you see as more, not just a one-year plan, but looking out a little bit into the future? Beyond the journal, what kind of problems do you think we should overcome?
PR. Visibility.
What, the brochures alone are not enough?
No,
what would you suggest for PR? I'm curious. I mean, there's a lot of ideas, but within our funding limitations, just related to partnerships.
Yeah, well, it's not just related to partnerships. We were talking about this, I was at the Daegu meeting this weekend, and we were sitting around talking about there are a lot of free ways to advertise. We don't have to spend a huge amount of money, but there should be more of a presence, more websites, writing articles, volunteering articles for things like 10 Magazine or other things, not just tech. We seem to be so inwardly focused that we don't seem to see all the opportunities that there are around us. We should be taking advantage. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I completely agree with you. It's amazing how many KOTESOL members, at least on the national level in the council, are unaware of many of the other professional networks that do exist outside of even teaching. Korea Business Central, Korea Link, there's lots of opportunities Jeff's aware of. Korea Bridge itself being technically outside of KOTESOL. These kinds of avenues are also where a lot of foreigners turn for professional development.
It is, and I really like, we just lost somebody, I think. But we don't seem to
We lost a black box.
We lost a black box. We don't seem to be capitalizing on the things that are available to us. There's so many things with the web, with YouTube, with all of these different organizations that we could be more involved and be more visible. I think that some of the partnerships would also help us be more visible, legitimately visible to the professional community. But sometimes it's so much of just getting involved with what's already out there, and the free ways of doing that are there. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Sorry. It's the fact that we have a branding issue. We're not visible. We don't have an identity, and that is what we really need to focus on: is creating within Korea a respected identity, a respected brand, so that when you say, "Oh, I'm part of KOTESOL," they're like, "Huh? What's that?" I guess that's the response you get right now. What's KOTESOL?
So we have good internal validity, but not much external.
Not at all. And trying to explain every time you meet someone on why they should be involved in KOTESOL, it could be easier. We could be more visible. And I think that is really where we need to go. Branding, identification, and legitimacy in the community.
That sounds like
especially with
an
the size of
excellent
Korea.
thought to pick up on during the roundtable discussion. But I'm thinking we
Absolutely.
should probably move on to the next candidate and perhaps give
Excellent.
Jamie a chance for final words.
Definitely. Can I ask Jamie not just one last question, but a question about a question? Jamie, if you've got one question you'd like to ask the other candidates, what would you like it to be, just so I can add it to our list? Jeff likes that. He's nodding his
That
head.
that's a brilliant question,
It's a
Joshua.
good bridging piece. It's
And
a good
Jamie's
bridging.
really lucky. Then we'll have to ask her later what they want to ask her.
Yeah.
I really would like to know how they are going to improve our image and our identity in Korea and make us more visible.
Okay. And I will ask that to the candidates as we come on.
Okay.
Thank you very
So,
much, Jamie,
I'm
for
gonna
joining
mute
us.
my
I'll
mic and
turn it
my
over to
video.
Jeff now for the transition.
All right. Thank you very much, Jamie.